This is the Narrowgate News Show with host Dennis Cole. Narrowgate News recognizes that history happens once, but Bible truth is being expressed by God, the Holy Spirit, through his reporters right now. This same Holy Spirit has inspired Narrowgate News to report and interpret what is truly happening in our world today. We now present to you Dennis Cole and the Narrowgate News Show.
Welcome to Narrowgate News. Today's episode is Why Believe. Please give us a thumbs up, share with a friend, and leave a comment. Donate through Zelle or PayPal. God bless you and enjoy the show.
Hi, everybody. Dennis Cole, Narrowgate News, and I'm particularly excited today. I've got as our guest Stephanie Cole. Yes, we're related. She's my daughter. Our verse today is, so you believe there's one God? Good. So do the demons, and they tremble. That's James 2, verse 19. When I was young, very young, I had a very old father. Now, my father, Stephanie knows she never met him. He died before Stephanie was born. But we had this joke about my father, your father's father. My father was a real New Yorker. He talked like that, flamboyant man. But he was a musician. And he knew songs that predated Frank Sinatra. And one of these songs from that era is I Believe. And I want Ron Carter to play it right now because it relates to the theme of our show today. Here comes Frankie Laine singing I Believe.
I believe for every drop of rain that falls, a flower grows. I believe that somewhere in the darkest night, a candle glows. I believe for everyone who goes astray, someone will come to show the way. I believe above the storm, the smallest prayer will still be heard. I believe that someone in the great somewhere hears every word. Every time I hear a newborn baby cry, or touch a leaf, or see the sky, then I know why I believe. Every time I hear a newborn baby cry, or touch a leaf, or see the sky, then I know why I believe.
Thank you. Okay, let's bring Stephanie on, Ron. Stephanie Cole. Stephanie Cole, I'm excited. I'm very, hi, honey, how you doing?
Hi, thank you. I'm good. How are you?
In February, Stephanie came to the National Religious Broadcasters Convention, which is Christian media, international Christian media. She came with her mother, Wendy Cole, our staff correspondent. You've seen Wendy Cole on the air. And Wendy and I got together. We did something perfect. We had Stephanie. That's what we had. Well, she came to the NRB. She was there for about 30 different interviews that we did. She was in one or two of them herself. But we endeavored to get her on the show since February. And she sent me a TikTok this week. And I said, wow, that really reaches me. Stephanie says, I think it'd be good for the show, Narrowgate News. I got back to Stephanie and said, you're right. I want you to come on the show. And we're going to watch this TikTok together. You, me, Stephanie, Ron Carter, our engineer. And let's watch it and then we'll comment. Thanks a lot.
A lot of people will say, I don't believe in God or Jesus or Christianity because I think it's just something for the weak, so they can cope with their lives, deal with their problems, and it makes them feel better about themselves. To which I would say, yeah, what's wrong with that? I'll be the first person to admit I'm weak, I'm lazy, unmotivated, indifferent. Most of the time, I really just don't care. I'm either vain, self-centered, or a narcissist. I don't know the difference. With a mountain of insecurities, an army of demons, and enough inner knots and confusion to keep me preoccupied and mildly depressed for the rest of my life. The past hurts, the future scares me, and the present, well, I kind of just try to keep the days passing by remaining as possible. Discipline? Weak. I'm pretty sure my emotions, my desires, and my lusts have way more control over me than I do of them. I struggle to do what I know I should do, and I do very easily what I know I probably shouldn't do, and everything else I'm kind of just... Problems? Yeah, I got problems. Who doesn't? Money problems, relationship problems, work problems, future problems, past problems, social problems, family problems, marriage problems, kid problems, parent problems, life problems, and those hidden problems that only I know about. And that's just the small stuff. What about those really, really big ones that come out of nowhere? The ones that make no sense at all. The ones we fear are going to bury us. I act like I'm strong. I look like I'm strong. I'll pretend I'm a lot stronger than you. But that's not strength. And besides, I'm getting so sick of the act. And there's this type of coping. These will help for a few minutes or a few hours, but then leads to more problems and more coping. Then there's this type of coping. Or this, or this, or this, or this, or this, or this. The kind where we're searching for answers, for truth, for the way through, for some kind of peace, for something or someone to make sense of it all.
Okay, Steph, what in your mind do you think the guy in TikTok is going through?
I think that the idea of the TikTok and what he is saying is that he's having a human experience, that the person who says to him, well, I don't choose God because that's for the weak, he's admitting that that's exactly what he is, but he's using it in a way to show that we're all in that same place, that we are all weak, that we are all striving to find something, to find a purpose. As the TikTok goes on and on, there are different types of ways that we look for that purpose. But what it really boils down to is that he's a human having a human experience on the good days, the bad days, the mundane days, that he is experiencing that. So the video itself I really liked because it's a very real and raw view of not just, you know, this kind of Christianese type of like lingo that we have for those of us who have been in church for a long time and know that lingo. It's for the everyday average person, which is kind of who we are on the inside. We don't maybe say some of those things that he's admitting, you know, that we feel worthless, that we feel unmotivated, that we're led by the desires of the flesh rather than what is good for us. And that can be in tangible ways and spiritual ways. We don't say that because that would, you know, that would show our weakness.
It's a lot like that song, I believe. Just a teenager in the streets of Rye, New York. My introverted side came out. I was alone a lot, and I would just start to sing. And I was looking for something. I didn't even know what I was looking for. Of course, this man in the TikTok defines it in the end. I love that verse. When I'm weak, then I am strong. Steph, how do you most relate with this guy in the TikTok?
Um, I like what you said about when you lived in Rye and you went through those periods of isolation, and you would just sing and you would try to find your purpose in your moments alone. And I relate with the video from that very same place that, our walk with God isn't glamorous, and it doesn't start off glamorous. It doesn't start off us becoming somebody. Sometimes it doesn't even end with us becoming somebody. Um, it's not about what we become, it's about who we already are and finding the root of who we are. And when you discover God, you discover a side of yourself that has already and always been in existence. And I think that that is what I relate to most in this video. It's not focusing on the bad stuff. It's not focusing on how terrible and wretched we are, which we are, absolutely. But it's focusing on, who am I? Who has God actually made me to be? And so that isolation that you talk about, that I have also experienced and I still experience from time to time, is where I met him, because that's where he told me who I was. By showing me what's important to me. And the things that were important to me weren't the things I thought would be important to me.
See, Jesus is organic to the human race. He created it. Missionaries use the term indigenous. He's one of us, indigenous tribes, native tribes. Well, he's native to the natives, if you want. I always say to people, it's not a religion, this Jesus thing. It's really a relationship, and it's a way of navigating life and understanding it. And it's the answer to science, to literature, to art, and to much more. My question to you is, what is your biggest challenge today to your belief in God? And, you're referring to Jesus as your Lord. Am I correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. The biggest challenge is never forgetting where I came from. It's never forgetting. And it's not, when we say never forget where you came from, I don't mean your trauma or your experiences, but never forgetting where you met God and in the place where you met him, because that's the place where he's always going to take you back. He's always going to take you there, because in that place where you met him, where you saw him, there was love there. There was everything that you truly cared about. And so I think as time goes on and, things happen, we get a little bit of success here and there, because God does bless us in those ways when we start to follow him, because he starts to transform us from the inside out. That's where I feel like, I say we in a general sense, but myself too, fall into performance and performing for God. And we have to pull ourselves out of that and say, who am I performing for? Why am I putting this pressure on myself to have this type of performance? Where did I first see him? Where did I first feel his love? Where was it just me and him?
So what you're saying, Stephanie, is when you met Jesus, when you met God, same person, performance pressure was taken off of you?
Yes.
Huh. Do you know that the religious understanding of Jesus is get cleaned up before you see Jesus? And Jesus is actually saying, "Come as you are, and I'll clean you up."
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? This is not a specific question. It's as specific as you want it to be. But I don't read it to my question. But where were you when you really met the living Jesus Christ? Where were you? What were you like? What was going on in you? It's an in you question. You can answer it any way you want. But I want to know what was going on in you at the time and during that season.
A lot of self-doubt, a lot of questioning myself, and a lot of questioning my purpose. There was a specific career path that I really wanted to start embarking on. And I realized I had all the tools to do it, but I had absolutely no confidence in myself to do it. So I felt something tell me, because I was restless, it said, if you want to get moving, start walking. And so I went out on walks. I went out on 4-mile walks. I went up to 8 miles just walking. And that's where I connected, not just with God in my quiet time, but also I connected with nature. And through nature and through the hot air and the breeze and the trees and the birds, the animals, I saw what was really important and what was missing in my life, and that I craved simplicity. I craved connection. I craved relationship. I craved love, and not just love to be given to me, but love that I could give to other people.
What is the difference, being that you've been on both sides, at least, of this question, this paradigm? What is the difference between a relationship with the real Jesus, the God of the Bible, that I know you've had some devotions, you read the Bible, but you internalize it, and you're talking about him right now. What's the difference between the real Jesus, who relates, takes performance pressure away, and the other Jesus that's the more generic Jesus, like 12 steps could be very generic. A higher power can be anything you want it to be. What's the difference between the generic Jesus and the real Jesus in your mind, based on your experience?
The real Jesus is the same yesterday, today, forever. He never, ever changes. And the generic Jesus, the one that we like to paint pictures of, and physical and metaphorical pictures of, is a God of whatever we want him to be, that will whitewash whatever sins we have, whatever discrepancies we have, doesn't necessarily hold us accountable, because he's full of love and grace, And that sounds nice, but it's not real, because if you we have to look at ourselves, because we're made in God's image. And so if we're made in God's image, and we have all of these real raw feelings and questions and desires in our hearts, doesn't he have the same thing if we're made in his image? So why would we try to model ourselves after something that is not attainable? Not that any of us can ever be God in any way, no, but we can be Christ-like. We can love the way that he loves. We can challenge others and ourselves the way that he challenges us. And challenge, I think, is a really crucial word here, and something that a lot of us, myself included, are very scared of. Afraid of it. Build the confidence is through that consistency and just showing up. Showing up is the hardest thing.
There's a Hebrew word for connection. It's kesher. I don't often bring up Hebrew words or Greek words, but that works for me. Kesher. There's a connection. When you make the connection, think of a vine. I'm the vine. That's Jesus. You're the branches. But when a branch is so connected to the vine, it almost looks like the vine. Can almost be thick as the vine. And there's a connection. This connection connects you. I want to show one more TikTok here. Let's just watch it, and I'll continue my conversation with Stephanie. Thanks a lot.
This is where we find the source of pure truth that every single one of our minds was designed to seek, of pure love that every single one of our hearts was made to be filled with and to share, and the pure, perfect good that every single one of our souls desires. And just as flesh and blood can only come from flesh and blood, spirit can only come from spirit. And this first pure spirit is where we come from, which explains why we sometimes feel homesick for something that we don't even know what it is. Now we can get from here to here on our own, with a little discipline, a blowing up of our egos, and the challenging of our minds. And we can try to get from here to here on our own, but it's hard. We're going to make a lot of mistakes, be easily deceived, and only go so far. Because we can't. It's so far beyond our human categories of thinking. It would be like, let's say there was life on another dimension. Now we could rationalize and theorize and try to postulate some idea of what it might be like there. But unless we actually go there or somebody from there comes here, we have no idea. So this is where God made it easy for us. He took all this, all truth, goodness, and love, everything through which you and I and all of existence was created, everything that actually is himself. And he embodied it into a human person and sent him here saying, teach them real truth. Love them with our love and show them what is goodness. And he entered into our dimension, our space and time, our history. And he says, very gently and lovingly, with the force of all existence in his voice, I am the way and the truth. I am the bread that your soul is longing for. Come to me, and I will give you rest.
Stephanie, how, with this last point that I made about the root and the branches connected, how can we avoid fake faith and bring real faith and bring real redemption to everybody? How do we do that?
By constantly showing up and by not being fake ourselves. So, easier said than done to just not fake it. That doesn't mean that you go out in public and have a public meltdown in front of everybody because you're just trying to keep it real. But being honest, just by being honest, that takes the performance pressure off of you. When somebody challenges you, maybe someone who isn't of the same mindset of you, isn't going through the same experience that you are with God, with healing, with change and transformation, when they challenge you, you don't need to meet them where they're at because they're playing a losing game. And I think that what we get so caught up in is surviving. I know that is a real thing in surviving at work, surviving in relationships, surviving financially. We get caught up in the surviving, and it puts us into a performance type of pressure. Realize that we don't have to play the game that other people are playing.
To answer my question, I asked you, how do we avoid fake faith? It's interesting. You immediately go into a situation where you're challenged by your own need, maybe in the workplace, maybe a marriage, or whatever, wherever we meet. And we avoid fake faith by being real in real situations instead of saying, well, I'm a Christian, I should do this. How about, if I'm winning at the losing game, like you intimated, I got to stop playing that game. I mean, you're telling me that I can avoid fake faith by really challenging myself in real life situations. That's what I got out of what you said.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because everything is application. It's real life learning situations right now. If you pray to God and say, God, help me deal with this person, help me to deal with this situation, help me to deal with impatience inside of myself. They always make a joke. If you ask God to help you with patience, he's going to give you applications on how to deal with. He's traffic.
He's giving you a reason for patience, right?
And he's gonna have you check your attitude, and he's gonna give you application, because the best teacher is life applications. And he's so patient that if one day we don't do so great with it, he says that's okay, because we've got tomorrow, and I'll teach you again and again and again. And then after you learn it, I'm going to teach you some more, so that you don't ever grow weary in it, but you constantly are prepared.
Each day has a trouble of its own. That's from the Sermon on the Mount. Hey, Steph, without rushing, what do you want to say to us?
To be honest, to show up honestly, first for God, second for yourself, third for other people, because you can't love others until you know God. You can't love God until you love yourself, and you can't know what love is until you give love. And one of my favorite quotes that I recently heard is that when God is making you wait, do what waiters do and serve, because that is where he's always going to take us. There's always going to be something that we want, someplace we're trying to get to. And we are in our living seasons, not in our waiting seasons. So when we're waiting, we serve.
You know, if you're one of those servers out there and you have the benefit of not having to pay taxes on your tips, thanks to God raising up Donald Trump to be the president of the United States, understand this, that you're learning life skills by serving others. The book of Mark says he didn't come to be served, but to serve. And the other thing you said about loving yourself, yeah, actually the Bible addresses that. Love God, love your neighbor, the two commandments, love God, love others, love your neighbor as you love yourself. So loving yourself is almost, what's the word I'm using for? It's almost internalized. Of course you love yourself. You know, when you're hungry, do you feed me or do you feed yourself? So you know, the loving yourself is there. What you're talking about is a healthy love for yourself. And I pray that a healthy love for ourselves would cause us to not fall for the trappings of fake Christianity, codependent Christianity. You know, you're drunk, I'll buy you a 6-pack because I love you. That's not love. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely, yeah.
Amen. Stephanie, I want you to know that I've enjoyed, Ron and I have enjoyed having you on the show, and I know our viewers are going to love the TikTok and your insights. And millennial age person, I'm a boomer. You're millennial, right? Millennial age? 30s,
I am.
30 somethings. And I want you to know that your mother and I love you. We're proud of you. And we're really glad to have you on our show. God bless you.
So much. You too. Love you too.
That was Stephanie Cole. I think the favorite guest I've ever had on the show is Stephanie Cole. And I pray that there's great depth in this TikTok Stephanie Cole dialogue with her dad. Thanks for watching. I'm Dennis Cole. This is Narrowgate News. God bless you. Thanks.
God bless you, and thank you for watching today's Narrowgate News Report. Please give us a thumbs up, give us a comment, and share with your friends. You may donate and partner with us at Zelle at 505-259-1282 or at PayPal at Dramatic Christian Ministries. Contact us at 505-259-1282 or at dcmngt@gmail.com.
Thank you for participating in our Narrowgate News Show. We hope you have experienced with our host, Dennis Cole, great insight into current events. We look forward to sharing more with you on our next broadcast of Narrowgate News with host Dennis Cole.